Sir, and that would be right behind.
Yeah, you said about the term limits. I mean, if we as people want to keep electing the same person in office, why should there be only a 2-term or 3-term limit? I never quite grasped the.
That's very flattering. I appreciate it. I'm kidding. So here's the proposal that I'm putting on the table. It's a 12-year term. It's a 12-year limit, not term, but limit. And then if they want to run again in the future, they can, but they have to take a 1-term hiatus. And what this prevents is just this boundless accumulation of power and influence just for the sake of being there so long. And then if you take that hiatus, you want to run again, the citizens want to elect you again, that's fine. Incumbents in America right now have an over 90% reelection rate, but their approval ratings are like in teen digits. Something doesn't compute. And so the reality is when you amass all this, now we were very lucky for the last 30 years. We had Ron Markskin, who was a tremendous public servant. And I feel like he never lost his core character, and he was always here for our community. I'm telling you what, he is the exception and rather not the rule, okay? They don't all come like that. And in fact, it's a rare thing. So I think as a policy, moving into the next generation of a legislature in Pennsylvania, I think as a policy, it would be a good idea to have that 12-year cap. Take a break, go back to the private sector, live under the laws you passed, and then if your citizens choose to re-elect you, that's fine. And here's the cool thing, this would be a constitutional amendment, which means everybody would have the opportunity to vote on it. All this does is it brings it to a referendum vote, and the public can choose if they want a term-limited legislature or a non-term limited legislature. Ultimately, my bill will just introduce this so that the people have the option of saying, do we want to term limit the House and the Senate, or do we not? Does that make sense a little bit?
That makes sense to me, but if the people aren't enough to judge for themselves who they want to vote for, then, I mean, that's the way I look at that as, well, you can only vote for the guy 5 times or 4 times, and
Yeah.
I mean, you should be intelligent. If the guy's not doing what we want, we'll get somebody else in there.
I hear you. I just look at it like, I mean, we term limit the governor, we term limit the president. You've got that kind of quote of absolute power corrupts absolute. Like as you accumulate time and influence and time and influence and time and influence, and your fundraising grows, pretty soon you lose touch with the people, and B, you're almost unbeatable in an election. So I just think there's some serious disparities, and we're losing those founding core principles.
I understand what you're saying. I understand your point too.
But you bring, I mean, it's a fair perspective that
I
you
have
bring.
another, you said about Pennsylvania has the highest gas tax in the nation,
Yeah.
which I read that. But my understanding was they passed that so they could fix, most of that money was going to be going to fixing our roads. Is that correct or not?
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, that's what it was for, correct or not?
That's supposed to be what it's used for. It's to serve as transportation infrastructure. Unfortunately, politicians figured out they can raid different funds. And so I think some of these funds ended up getting diverted to other agencies. I'm still figuring this stuff out to see where it went to or where it's going. But yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be fixing the pothole.
Another question on that. If we set aside money, our tax money to build roads in the state to fix them, how many of the contractors building those roads are actually using Pennsylvania labor than coming from in out of state to build our bridges and our roads?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Eric, can you check? That's a fair to see what percentage are in-state laborers and contractors versus out-of-state. Yeah, we'll look into that. That's a good question.
None of them.
Yes, sir.
What are they gonna do when there's more EV vehicles on the highway, and they don't pay taxes because they don't control other fuel?
Yeah,
Now what are we gonna do?
yeah.
Those of us that still have vehicles that are gonna use fuel, our taxes are going
Kind
to
of
go up.
button the bill.
These people with electric vehicles, they're gonna be running the same highways that I am. I can't afford a vehicle. 470,000 my vehicle last night. You'll run, get me down the road.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
So you sell pot and you take the money
You heard what I said to the gentleman. I am opposed to marijuana.
You would not be
Period.
selling pot.
Oh,
Yeah, double power. Okay. Clever. Clever. Yes, sir.
Maybe have PennDOT solve some of your problems, instead of a gas tax on, only gas burning, vehicles. You have, PennDOT do inspections when you come in each year, see how many miles you've run. And, right now, you're supposed to write it in. I don't know if anybody keeps track.
So you're saying a
and-
mileage base versus a gas tax.
Right, yes.
What do you guys think of that? Fair?
And something else earlier about the illegal aliens and everything. Why can't we have, when you get your license at PennDOT and everything, then you get checked out there? How many other places where you would get documents that you would possibly use in elections and stuff like that? The PennDOT seems to me to be the big place. And so if you would have them run, well, for lack of a better term, background check on people when they were to come in and either get their license and everything, to check their own license.
My understanding with PennDOT is when you go in, I mean, you do have to present pretty much solid verification of your residency.
Okay, well, then what other places would somebody get the documents necessary to sign up to vote?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. That's something that I believe the legislature, we have an oversight committee now in the legislature, it's newly formed, and I believe this is something they're gonna be looking into to see how that happened and what can be done to rectify it so it doesn't happen again. So, I mean, I don't have the answer on that specifically.
No.
That's a good question.
I'm just
Yeah, sure.
throwing stuff against the wall, see what's.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep. Fair question. I had can I go to Charlie and then back to you?
Yeah, I just had a quick comment of what this gentleman was asking. The gas tax is the highest in the country in Pennsylvania. It was put in place by Tom Corbett. Remember that guy, the governor? He put that in place to fix the roads. But it's my understanding that that money's been diverted to the state police to buy vehicles. So like you mentioned, the money gets into a general fund and then legislators divert it out and then that's what we're left with, so.
And this is something term limits would solve, guys. Back to my argument.
And as far as term limits, the reason, and you touched on the basis, because once you get into power, you have more connections, you have more money for advertising, and half the time, you can weed out everyone in the race because now you're on the TV all the time and people won't even know about the underdog.
The incumbency.
Yeah, you can't compete with someone who has millions and millions of dollars to run for office when you are just the average Joe Schmo.
And that's why trying to have that term limit might rectify some of that. Okay, but Eric, put a note down on the mileage base. I've heard of this idea and I've thought a little bit. I'm curious about what you guys